We had a huge, scary fight where I really lost my temper. And I remember being slumped on the kitchen floor and you had locked yourself in the upstairs bathroom. And I was feeling hopeless about our marriage and about our family. And it was in that moment that I had to make a decision. I was either going to let the possibilities for us slip away, or I was going to make a scary and risky move to try and change something. Welcome to the Blended Family Coaching Show, where you'll discover how to move your stepfamily from just surviving to truly thriving.
Grab your headphones and listen in as we share practical, real-life strategies for building healthy bonds,
Understanding the kids' perspective,
romance and partnership,
parenting with great teamwork.
and yes, even co-parenting with a difficult ex.
We're Mike and Kim Anderson, and we believe with the right tools, every step couple can overcome the common challenges of stepfamily life.
Join us for authentic and sometimes comical conversations to discover how you can lead your family with confidence and create the future you really want.
Hey there, Happy New Year, and thank you for joining us here to kick off something new for your blended family in 2022.
Woohoo!
We are so excited for what this year is going to bring for our family and for yours. And we're going to challenge you today to intentionally create the newness that you're hoping for.
Right.
And we'll be right here with you on the podcast throughout the year to help you do just that. So stick with us through the whole episode today, and we're going to show you how to take some really simple steps toward what you want without making it a New Year's resolution. But instead, it's going to be a few small steps that you can plan out maybe within a couple of hours.
Or less even.
Yeah, and then start simply working the plan.
Yeah, you can do this.
That's right. And before we dive in, if we've brought you some value over the past couple of years or just the past couple of months, however long you've been listening, would you consider rating the show? All you need to do is click the star rating that honestly reflects the value that you experience listening to the show. And I'm really excited to share that our Spotify listeners can finally choose a rating for the show. In your mobile app, simply tap on the Blended Family Coaching Show, follow us, and then just below the show description, tap on the star rating option. We would so appreciate your feedback.
Absolutely.
And if you listen over on Apple Podcasts, but you haven't left a rating or a review, would you just take a moment to do that for us? We're really, really grateful to hear from you. All right. Well, let's get started with our very first episode of 2022.
Yes, let's do that.
Okay.
So last week we shared 3 of the most impactful lessons that we've learned through our 20 years of blending. And we shared a few tips throughout that discussion, but really we focused on some insights and valuable mindset shifts.
Right.
And we promised you that we'd move from conceptual to concrete this week and share some practical steps that you can take in 2022 to move things forward in a positive direction and change the trajectory of your blended family's journey.
That's right.
And we know from our own story and from the couples that we've worked with over the years that insight without action falls short.
Yeah, that's right.
Nothing really starts to change until we choose to take action, to try something new, and then begin to respond, relate, and behave a little differently. When we act on our insight, we can actually affect and influence the dynamics in our blended family, and we can experience more peace, more stability, connection, and positive movement.
For sure.
And we really want that for you. So today is all about starting the new year with some new resolve to create something new in your blended family.
That's right. You know, there's this old saying that every accomplishment starts with a decision to try. One of the lessons last week is that we cannot move forward without taking steps of growth. We must be willing to try. And honestly, trying can be scary, and it always comes with some risk. You know, I remember having to make a decision about 10 years ago. We were in a miserable season.
Yeah.
We were disconnected as a couple. We were struggling to get on the same page with parenting and exhausted from a terrible court battle with your ex. We had a huge, scary fight where I really lost my temper, which was a pattern for me back then. And I remember being slumped on the kitchen floor and you had locked yourself in the upstairs bathroom to get away from me. It seemed like forever that I just sat there. Actually, I was weeping. And I was feeling hopeless about our marriage and about our family. And it was in that moment that I had to make a decision. I had to make a decision to try. I was either going to let the possibilities for us slip away, or I was going to make a scary and risky move to try and change something. It wasn't long after that night that I invited you to go get counseling together, and you actually refused.
I did.
And then I was faced with another decision. Was I still going to try? I could have said, fine, I'm not taking the risk of putting the effort in all by myself. But instead, I decided to take the risk, and I told you that I was going to go get help anyway, whether you were in or not. And then I reached out to a counselor and a couple of my mentor friends, and it was scary. And it was really, hard for me to get that vulnerable, and it was risky to take steps, not even knowing if you were ever going to start doing your own work.
Mm-hmm.
Really, the rest of that is history. And the fact that we're even here together, still married, and I'd say thriving now, that's a miracle in itself.
It is.
Now, why do I tell this story? Because if we can decide to try something new in our blended family when we were at the rock bottom of our history together, then we believe that no matter where you are in your blending journey, you can make the decision to try right now, this week.
Absolutely.
Imagine what that decision might bring for you. It could be that 12 months from now, when you're celebrating the new year again to ring in 2023, your marriage and blended family experience could be radically different. And you'll trace it back to this moment when you made a scary, risky, but simple decision to try something new. So let's dive into some practical steps that you can decide to take now, this very first week of the new year, to just get started on creating something new and beautiful for your blended family in 2022.
Yeah.
And by the way, we've got a free resource for you that's going to help you to make this episode really practical for yourself. It's your 2022 Blended Family Progress Planner. It's packed with resources and some simple ways to capture your notes from the episode. You can download it free using the link in the show notes, or just go to mikeandkimcoaching.com/121, because this is episode number 121. All right. So you might need to pause, go get your download, and then let's get started.
All right. So the first thing that we're going to talk about, the first practical step you can take, is to find your focus. Before you can start to take action, it's good to get focused.
That's right.
So start by clarifying for yourself, individually or as a couple, the area of blended family life you'd like to experience change in your unique dynamics. And to help you think through that, we're going to share what we call the 5 essential elements of blended family life and challenge you to choose just one of these areas to get laser focused on. Now, maybe you've heard us talk about these 5 elements before, but don't check out on us. This is a great opportunity to get a quick refresher and consider how you're currently doing in each of these areas. And as we share all 5 essential elements, we know you might be thinking, oh gosh, we need to work on all of these.
We have over the years, for sure.
But the truth is, focusing on one thing at a time is going to help you to be more focused. It'll be easier to take action and measure your progress.
That's right.
You don't want to get overwhelmed by working on too many things at once. So wherever you choose to start, it needs to be specific, actionable, and an area where you might be able to experience a reasonably quick win.
Yeah, for sure. So let's briefly touch down on each of the 5 elements that are critical to the success of every step family. First is bonding. Maybe you've tried to create lots of quality family time, hoping to accelerate the bonding process, but it doesn't seem to be going over very well, and you're struggling to reduce the relational tension in your home. Learning blended family bonding strategies and understanding how long it takes most blended families to actually blend could be one element that you would really benefit from focusing on.
Absolutely. The second element is understanding kids' perspectives. Maybe the kids are struggling with difficult emotions. They're pushing back and rejecting the step parent or even isolating from the family. And maybe you've been scratching your head, kind of wondering how you can develop more empathy for their unique perspective and also learn how to help them move through their loss, grief, disappointment, or anger, whatever it might be that they're going through. Understanding your kids' perspectives could be the place where you need to focus right now, whether you're a bio or a step parent, or if you're both.
That's right. And, safeguarding your marriage is the third element of focus that's critical for blended family couples. If you're feeling disconnected or maybe experiencing a lot of conflict and you're trying to figure out how to get on the same page and honor and prioritize your marriage, maybe this is where you're going to want to focus. And by the way, you can make a positive impact in your marriage even if you're taking action on your own. It's okay if your spouse isn't quite ready to do this with you yet. You can still create change within your partnership.
Yeah, and it's important to understand that a blended family marriage is very different than a first family marriage. So there's a lot to learn.
Right.
The next one is parenting and discipline. We know this is a big one.
Yeah.
If this is a struggle for you, you might be feeling like you and your spouse have such polar opposite parenting styles that you'll never get on the same page. You've tried everything, but you still can't seem to agree on your parenting goals or the roles each of you should be focused on as bio and step parent. You probably really want to be united in this area of parenting, so maybe it's time to learn a new method or strategy. It could be that parenting and discipline will be a good element for you to focus on right now.
That's right. And finally, the fifth essential element is all about co-parenting with the other home. Maybe you're at your wit's end with your former spouse, or maybe it's not your ex, but it's your spouse's ex that's creating more drama than you'd like in your home. If it feels like you just keep going round and round with a former spouse, then this could be the place that you want to start building a new strategy in how you work with that other home and try to build more peace for the kids. All right, so those are the 5 essential elements for blended families. So remember that your first step is simply to find your focus. All you're going to do is choose one of those areas to focus in, the one that might be a game changer if you were to experience better results or new growth. You might want to ask yourself, where's the most tension, or what's creating the most relational distance in our family's dynamics? What am I most frustrated with in this particular season, right? Those are great questions to ask. And all you need to do is identify that primary pain point that you've been struggling with. Or maybe you've been feeling very disappointed or discouraged because you're realizing that your original expectations or dreams coming into this new blended family are far from your current reality. What were those expectations, and which of the 5 essential elements do they fall under?
Right.
If you printed out that free resource, your progress plan, just go ahead and check one, the one that's most important to you right now.
Just take a little time to pick one of these areas to start with. Bonding, understanding kids' perspectives, marriage, parenting, or co-parenting with a former spouse. Think through this on your own or talk to your partner about what you both agree would be most helpful. And once you've found your focus, you'll move on to the next step, which is choose your path.
That's right.
We love this quote from Martin Luther King Jr. Faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. Maybe you can relate to that.
Yeah.
You know that you'd like to step up and into a season of growth that'll make a difference for your family, but the whole staircase, the one that's going to lead to growth and some big wins, that might seem really daunting and uncertain. Maybe you aren't sure where you're headed, and you might even feel a little uneasy at this point.
Yeah.
But we want to encourage you to keep taking steps and affirm that you're on the right path. Because the truth is, not every step will be easy, but good things will come when you keep climbing.
That's right.
So let's get ready for your next step, which is choosing your path.
And you can start this step by identifying your favorite approach to learning. You're on a quest for discovery, and you want to make sure that you choose a path that fits you and that you can stay engaged with. So what do we mean by that? Well, we want to challenge you to identify the type of content you learn best from. Maybe you're a reader, and books or blog articles are a great learning resource for you. You might be someone who learns best by listening, so podcasts or audiobooks might work better for you. This could be especially true if you spend time commuting, right? It could have to do with your circumstances. Yeah. Or maybe you know that you learn best with more of a structured format, like a self-paced online course or some kind of a webinar. Maybe one of those would be best. Now, these specific ways of learning, books or blogs, podcasts, online course, webinar, all of those things generally work well for those who are self-directed learners. They're capable of working independently, and then they're going to take the initiative to actually take action on what they're learning. So if you're a self-motivator, these are probably going to be enough to keep you learning and growing for a really long time. However, be careful here. You might really enjoy taking in information with these different resources, but be honest with yourself about how well you implement what you learn. I mean, I'm a reader. I'm a learner. I'm always reading and learning new things. I love that kind of stuff, and I love taking in new information. However, when it comes to implementation, I often finish a book. I think, man, that was a really great book. I really enjoyed it. I think I need to do some of that. And then I just kind of put it back on the bookshelf and go back to life as usual. And I don't actually experience any change. I kind of envy some of my friends who are different than me in that area. They can read a book and then immediately start making practical change. But for whatever reason, I'm just kind of not wired that way.
And that's a great point. We found that many people tend to do better with support. If that's you, then you'll want to consider some different ways to learn and grow so that you can achieve what you're hoping for. You might want to consider working directly with a counselor or a coach. Maybe joining a support group network is the best way for you to take steps towards personal development. Learning from others and getting feedback from healthy, positive sources. What works best for you might be live classes, workshops, or events that are blended family specific or specific to what you're focusing on.
Yep. And when you're choosing your path, you're going to want to think about what's realistic for you as well. So you got to consider your current bandwidth. How much time and energy do you have to devote yourself to new learning and growth right now? Now, we realize that you might be feeling low on energy or overscheduled. We get it. We've been in lots of different seasons like that where we just felt we couldn't do one more thing. So if that's you, then don't write this process off or use busyness as an excuse. Instead, consider how you can create some space for this important work. Chances are there's nothing you wouldn't pay to care for your kids and ensure that your family is safe and healthy. I bet you would scrape as much money together if you really needed to. And that's a monetary investment that you'd be willing to make for your kids and your family's well-being. I'm betting most of us would say, yeah, I would do that, right? Well, guess what? Your time and your energy work just the same way as currency. They're both finite. You only have a limited supply, and you've got to budget time and energy well in order to make the investments into your marriage and into your family that you really want. And in the long run, it's so worth making this kind of growth a priority.
Absolutely.
So you might need to consider what you could give up just for a short season while you engage in learning and taking steps in growth and development, right? Stephen Covey said, it's not about prioritizing your schedule. It's about scheduling your priorities. You've got to say, wow, you know what? This growth is a priority for me, and I'm going to put in the schedule first, even before I'm watching, old reruns of The Office on Netflix. Or actually, I don't think it's on Netflix anymore, but, we've got to be able to just say this is a priority and I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, give up something else temporarily.
For sure.
For something really important.
Yeah, I love what Nick Wignall says too. He says you can't expect to have high levels of motivation for the things that matter most to you if you're wasting all your energy on things that don't really matter.
Right. Yeah.
So we've got to make this a priority and we've got to choose our path.
Right. Now, once you've considered your unique learning style and how much time and energy you're ready to invest, then you'll want to do some research to discover a path that works for you. And we're going to help you with some of these choices. In the free progress planner that you can download, there's an appendix at the end that's filled with tons of great blended family resources for you to look over and consider. We encourage you to spend some time researching some of those resources and then choose your path.
Yeah.
The resources in the appendix are organized by those 5 essential elements from finding your focus to make it all really easy. So dive in and have some fun with this. Find a resource that you connect with and that inspires you. And if the cheat sheet isn't doing it for you, you can start Googling and find a fit for you based on those specific approaches and the criteria that we talked about earlier. Once you've found something within your area of focus that fits your learning style and really connects with you, whether it's following an expert on the internet or reading a blog article or getting some counseling, whatever it is, when you find something you're able to devote yourself to in this season of development and discovery, then you've chosen your path. Great job. But if you want to create real change in 2022, you're not quite done yet.
That's right. You know, as coaches, we love to get down into the details around how you can stay consistent and take continual steps forward without getting stuck. So once you've found your focus and chosen your path, we want to encourage you to be intentional by charting your course. And you can chart a really effective course in 4 steps. Okay. Again, if you have that download in front of you, start writing some notes here, okay? Because we're going to go through these pretty quick. So the first step to charting your course is naming your goal. And when you're thinking about the goal that you want to create, I want you to think about a process goal, not a results goal. So a results goal is often something you can't really control. That goal says, oh, I'm going to make sure that by the end of 2022, I have a really strong bond with my stepchild. Okay, right? That's the result you're looking for. A process goal says, hey, you know what? Throughout 2022, I'm going to find 2 specific ways to connect with my stepchild every single month.
Right.
That's a process goal. And then I'm just going to keep showing up and I'm going to keep doing it and I'm going to keep doing it and I'm going to keep doing it. And my hope is actually reach the result goal of having that bond with that stepchild.
But you keep your expectations in line as you work towards it.
Yep. And so you have that process goal. It's something that's doable and actionable, that's not based on something somebody else needs to do for you. Okay. So make it a process goal, not a results goal. And be specific. Don't say, oh, I think I'll read a step family book. But instead, I'm going to read The Smart Step Family by Ron Deal. That's more specific.
So pick a book.
Exactly. Not, I'll do some counseling or coaching, but this week I'm going to call 3 counselors or coaches to find the best fit for us. You see that how specific that is? Not, oh, I'm going to listen to some podcast episodes, but I'm going to listen to 2 episodes that are focused on bonding every single week.
Right.
See how that's specific toward my goal. So get specific.
Yep. Step 2 is to plan your time. So what's your overall time frame in reaching your goal?
That's a great question.
If you're reading a book, when do you want to complete that book? In a week? In a month? You need to plan that out.
Yeah. Name it.
If you're moving forward with counseling or coaching, decide that you're going to give it a certain amount of time, even if it's hard. Give it 3 months, give it 6 months. Now's the time to plan that out.
Yep.
When are you going to take the time to intentionally listen to those 2 podcast episodes a week if that's your goal?
Right.
Maybe during your commute or while you're walking the dog. Set a goal for how many you'd like to consume by a certain date.
Right.
And what's your allotment? If you're going to read a book, how long are you going to read for? Maybe it's 30 minutes 4 times a week. Maybe you're going to meet with your coach or your counselor once a week or every other week. Maybe you've decided to listen to 2 podcast episodes per week. And when are you going to do it? You've got to get it on your calendar and schedule it.
Schedule your priorities.
Yep. If it doesn't get scheduled, it doesn't happen, right?
For sure.
Carve out the time you need and then make it a priority and protect that time. Don't let anything else infringe on that time.
That's right. Yeah. So you're planning your time. The overall time frame, the time allotment allotment and when you're going to do it. Get it on the schedule.
Yep. You don't
Very
want to
good.
be distracted by less important things.
That's right. So name your goal, plan your time, and then capture your discoveries. You know, along the way, you're going to want to capture those little gold nuggets of wisdom that you're learning and record those things that you want to try in your family.
Right.
Maybe it's a new strategy or a specific conversation you need to have or an approach that sounds really interesting to like parenting or discipline or something like that. Whatever it is that stands out to you and connects with you or feels really pertinent to your situation, you've got to capture it before it escapes you. I mean, how many times, honey, do we talk about something and then like a week later we're like, hey, what was that really good thing we were talking about last week? And we're both like, I have no idea. There's two of us and we still can't remember it, right? So figure out how you're going to maybe write that down. Maybe you're a journaler or you just like to outline things. Maybe you like to write things in a notebook with an old-fashioned pencil, you know, or maybe you're really cool and sleek and you can type it into your electronic journal right on your phone.
Right.
It doesn't really matter how you do it, but capture it. Or maybe you're a little bit like me, who's a verbal processor. Things get cemented in my brain when I get to talk about it out loud. So I've got several processing buddies. Right. I've tried to make you, honey, be my processing buddy. But when you're my only processing buddy, it's really overwhelming for me. So I've had to branch out, find some other people.
Yeah.
And I've had to name that. Like, who am I going to share what I'm learning with? And it probably isn't you all the time.
Right.
It's somebody else that, you know, can help me think through it and even hold me accountable sometimes.
Right.
So really think about how you're going to capture your discoveries.
Yeah. Don't let them escape you.
That's right.
And then you want to celebrate by choosing your reward.
Oh, this is a great step. Yes.
Keeps you focused on your goal. So decide what reward will you give yourself when you complete the goal. Gives you something to look forward to.
Yep.
Keep it simple and affordable.
Yes.
Maybe it's a massage or spa day. Maybe that simple small gift to yourself that you wouldn't normally buy.
Oh, like my new truck?
No, it's got to be within your budget.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's why I don't have a new truck.
Maybe it's a special date night with your spouse or even an overnight somewhere if that works for you.
Yeah.
Or if you're more of an introvert like me, maybe some alone time to just relax and enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
The point is to name this reward now, to give you a little excitement and some incentive as you walk through the course that you're charting. So to chart your course, let's recap. You're going to name your goal. You're going to plan your time, capture your discoveries, and choose your reward.
All right. Now, if you're anything like me, I would be really excited about figuring all that out right now. So you feel free to go ahead and pause the podcast, grab your handy dandy download that you've already downloaded and printed out, and fill all of that in, because there's sections in through that whole planner for you to fill all of that in.
Right. You're setting yourself up for success.
All right. 2022 is going to be awesome. Okay. So you found your focus, you've chosen your path, and you've charted your course. Now, there's one more thing that you're going to want to do as you set about working your plan. Okay. And that is to overcome your obstacles. Now, the reality is you won't reach your goal if you let yourself get stuck if an unexpected obstacle presents itself.
Right.
And wait a second. Not if you hit an obstacle. I need to say when you hit an obstacle, because you're going to hit obstacles.
Right.
You're going to need to expect and anticipate that there will be some obstacles that you're going to need to overcome.
Right.
And for many of us, when we do run into obstacles, that's when we usually lose sight of those good intentions that we had. We're ready to do something new. We're excited about moving forward. We've got this plan in place, but an obstacle pops up and we lose our momentum, or we simply just give up on those good intentions and they go unfulfilled.
Right.
We've been there many, many times and struggled to move beyond obstacles many, many times over the years. Kim just got back from the gym and she was saying, oh, it was packed, right? It's January 2nd. And I kind of laughed and made the comment, yeah, it'll be empty by January 15th, right?
Yeah.
Because we all know how these New Year's resolutions goes. We hit an obstacle. I'm tired. I'm busy. All this stuff comes in.
We lose momentum.
Those great intentions we had to get in shape, takes about 2 weeks for that to
by
go away.
mid-January, it'll be dead
Exactly.
again. Yeah.
So we all hit those. Don't let them take you out. So we're going to help you to anticipate some of those obstacles and prepare for them so that you don't end up stalling out or giving up.
Right. So let's talk about common obstacles and explore some practical ways that you can move beyond them. And as we do that, think about which obstacle you might find yourself facing as you take these steps of growth. And just be willing to call it out and deal with it now. And then prepare yourself to face it again down the road.
Yeah.
This takes some courage, which you will need along the way if you want to meet your goal.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the first obstacle that's really common is fear. There's one thing that almost everyone fears and will do almost anything to avoid, and that's confrontation.
Yeah.
Often we have this feeling that something just isn't working within our family dynamic. Something's not right, but because we fear confrontation and calling attention to this issue, we tend to back down or stay quiet, even though we know there's a looming problem. But the truth is, you cannot correct what you will not confront.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I've learned it the hard way over the years that avoidance doesn't solve problems.
Yeah.
We've got to overcome our fear of confrontation and choose to deal with our issues. And you can do this in a way that's loving and honoring to everyone in your family. Because confrontation doesn't have to be a bad, ugly thing.
For sure.
It's really the catalyst to new awareness, growth, and positive change.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you foresee that the fear of confrontation is a possible obstacle that you might struggle with, we encourage you to go back and listen to episode 50, which is called How to Openly Communicate What You Really Want. And in this episode, you'll learn a great communication tool that'll help you to express what you're feeling and noticing in a really healthy way.
Yeah.
Or if it's conflict that holds you back from communicating and confronting the issues that are going on, then we encourage you to listen to episode 35, which is called Are You Controlling Conflict or Is It Controlling You? Now, those two episodes can help you to develop effective communication skills and give you some confidence when you need to confront your family's issues and what's been going on.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you might find that you're struggling with some other fears as well. Maybe a fear of inadequacy, or that you won't be able to really do anything new or make a difference. Maybe you're fearing failure. And these are tough emotional places to be. And if that's you, we just want to encourage you to reach out to someone who you trust, who really believes in you and knows your potential. Allow them to encourage you to move beyond your fears and to affirm what you're doing in this challenge. Find a good cheerleader that's going to help you to stay focused and move through those fears. You'll need to expect and anticipate fear. That's okay. But know that fear and peace can coexist.
Right.
So don't allow fear to paralyze you.
Right. Now, another obstacle is impatience. This is a big one. We all want a quick fix.
That's right.
We want results and we want them now.
Mm-hmm.
We want to see something come from all of our efforts. But when we're dealing with people and relational dynamics, we must be patient. And this isn't always easy.
No, for sure.
You might feel like giving up on new growth and just reverting back to the status quo when you don't see any tangible change in your family. But we want to encourage you to stay the course, even when you're feeling impatient or it seems there's no response or positive change that's happening.
Right.
There's a fascinating book called Atomic Habits by James Clear, and it's about this concept of how little tiny tweaks and habits can accumulate and create big changes.
Yeah.
Listen to this quote from the book. I love this. Small changes often appear to make no difference at all until you cross a critical threshold. The most powerful outcomes of any compounding process are delayed.
Yeah.
You need to be patient.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that because what you're doing throughout this challenge of growth is collecting ideas, new mindsets, and strategies that will most likely be small, but will also have the potential to compound over time if we can push past our impatience and really stay the course.
That's right. Very much so. You know, another obstacle is all about limiting beliefs and excuses. Albert Einstein once said, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them.
Right.
What a great thought. And you know, it connects to that old definition of insanity. When we continue to do the same unhealthy, unproductive, ineffective things, but for some reason we expect a different outcome.
Right.
It's like crazy thinking, right? You know, last week we talked about those cognitive distortions. We all have those, and they can become obstacles to healthy growth. Things like helplessness, passivity, negativity, self-protective rationalizing, and one-solution thinking. We talked about all that last week.
Right.
And if you missed it, you might want to go back and listen to that, because that can be an obstacle that you need to overcome this year. When you confront this kind of thinking in yourself, you can leave those excuses behind and break through those limiting beliefs that often keep you stuck for no real reason at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, the final obstacle we'll discuss today, you guessed it, pain.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
The truth is, you're going to experience some level of emotional pain as you navigate your way through difficult dynamics and work towards something new.
Yeah.
It's inevitable.
Yep.
But sometimes things have to get worse before they can get better.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be willing to walk through some pain and discomfort if you want to get to the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And this takes courage and determination. You're going to need to anticipate the painful setbacks, the disappointments and discouragements that will come, and understand that tragedy and opportunity can coexist.
That's right.
We've been through painful seasons when we wanted to throw in the towel, but when we look back at how tough things were, it's clear to us now that the struggle and the difficulty that we experienced actually led us towards our greatest opportunities for understanding, growth, and connection.
Yeah, that's right. And you know, it's not the crisis that makes things good or bad necessarily. It's our response to the crisis.
Right.
We can choose to respond well and embrace the opportunity for growth, even though it's painful.
Mm-hmm.
Or we can pull back and allow our pain to keep us stuck.
Which is going to lead to more pain, by the way.
Absolutely. And then we miss out on learning new ways to work through the crisis. But if we face the pain, we really can reach new heights.
Absolutely.
Author and speaker Craig Groeschel says that we can tolerate the pain when we know there's a purpose. And when we can stay focused on our purpose of learning and growing and discovering better ways of approaching our problems, we're going to gradually discover that our pain is actually pretty tolerable. We don't have to be shut down by our discomfort and painful emotions. We can stay engaged in the process of growth and choose to tolerate those painful emotions that are probably going to come along.
Yeah.
Nick Wignall says that just because something feels bad doesn't mean it is bad.
Right.
And if you need some extra help with dealing with pain, go back and check out episode 107, where we discuss some of the disheartening realities we all have to go through and some ways to manage those realities. And pain happens to be one of them.
Right. And you can get through it.
That's right.
Now, there's one more obstacle that you might be facing.
Oh, another one?
Right. And you might be feeling like a lone ranger when it comes to this kind of growth.
Yep.
If your spouse isn't yet ready to join you in learning and trying something new in your family, this could be an obstacle that keeps you from moving forward.
Yeah. And if that's you and you feel like a lone ranger, we want to encourage you to take steps forward anyway. You know, I shared earlier that during our tough season, when everything was kind of falling apart for us, I was highly motivated to fight for our marriage and take action. But honey, you really weren't.
No, I was stuck in some of those limiting beliefs and cognitive distortions. You're right. I was stuck in some of those limiting beliefs and the cognitive distortions, and I wasn't motivated to take these kinds of steps towards new learning and growth. I was actually pretty apathetic at that point.
Yeah. And, you know, that was a real obstacle for me in that season. I could have used your apathy as an excuse to just give up or even hold on to my own limiting beliefs that nothing's going to change for us if Kim isn't in it with me, right?
Right.
But I had to overcome those obstacles, and I took my own steps forward. And for me, that meant doing some individual counseling, learning some better ways to handle my frustrations, to communicate more effectively, and to invite you into the process of moving forward together.
And honey, your efforts really did make a huge difference for us because as you begin to approach things in a more productive and less combative way, I slowly began to respond better and my heart actually softened towards you.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I started to notice the changes you were making, and that motivated me to eventually join you and move forward together.
Yeah.
So, honey, the action you took as that Lone Ranger really helped me to get unstuck and move beyond those challenges.
Yeah.
And if you'd like to learn more about specific ways that you can motivate your spouse and invite them into a season of growth with you, you can go back and listen to episodes 65 and 66. And we'll put links to those in the show notes because there is a gentle way to do that can be really helpful.
So be ready to take down those obstacles. Don't let fear or impatience or limiting beliefs or excuses or pain stop you. Even if you're someone who's feeling like a Lone Ranger, you need to be committed to moving forward beyond your obstacles.
Yes.
Okay, so if you haven't already, go download your free 2022 Blended Family Growth Planner at mikeandkimcoaching.com/121.
It's going to help you.
Yeah, click the link in the show notes. We made it really easy. And you can start creating your plan by first finding your focus, just identifying that one essential element of blended family life that you want to work on. Then choose your path. So you're checking out that appendix at the end of the free planner that's packed with all kinds of resources, and just put your research hat on so that you can choose the resource that fits your learning style and your current bandwidth.
Right.
Next, you're going to chart your course so you'll develop that specific plan with practical steps so that you can successfully reach your goal. That's my favorite, by the way. So call me up if you need help with that. And last but not least, be prepared to overcome those obstacles that might come in your way.
Right.
You've got to just identify those things that get the potential of getting you stuck, because we want you to succeed, and you can succeed now by getting rid of those obstacles.
So now all you have to do is work your plan.
Yes.
Start 2022 off with a bang.
Woo.
And be ready to take action on whatever you discover. Make a commitment now that you're going to change at least one thing.
That's right.
One way that you communicate or connect with your spouse or your kids or stepkids, or maybe it's just one misguided assumption, expectation, or attitude that you've been holding on to that you know isn't healthy.
Yeah.
Maybe you decide you'll try a new strategy that you discovered around parenting or dealing with a former spouse. Or it could be that you decide it's time to change a not so helpful habit and create some healthier habits and new patterns in your life. Whatever it is, it's time to commit to yourself that you will do at least one new thing throughout the course that you've charted and really give it your all. You can do it.
That's right. One simple truth that we've learned in over 20 years of blending is that difficult roads often lead to beautiful destinations.
Absolutely.
And believe me, if we can face our difficult roads, we're confident that you can too. So this week, download your free planner, start working through it. And then next week, we've got some special guests coming on that are going to share a new idea that could help you work your plan in a really effective way.
Right.
Now, we can't wait to drop that episode because we know it could be a game changer for you. But for now, it's going to make this episode a wrap.
Until next time.